The melody began softly, a trembling whisper that drifted across the grand hall like a forgotten ghost returning home. It wrapped itself around the crystal chandeliers, slipped between the rows of well-dressed guests, and struck straight into the heart of the woman in the white dress. She hadn't heard that tune in 12 long years, not since the night her first love played it for her under a rusted gazebo, promising a forever that life never let them keep. Now in a place she never expected, at a celebration she didn't even want to attend, the song had found her again. And the moment she recognized it, her entire world stopped. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Grandma Dearie so more hearts can hear stories like this. She had arrived that evening trying her best to appear composed, hiding the weight of being a single mother who'd learned to survive one long day at a time. Her name was Evelyn, and although she looked graceful in her simple white dress, her life had been anything but simple. She worked 2 jobs to keep the lights on and put food on the table for her 8-year-old son, Liam. She had grown used to pushing her own emotions far into the background, smiling through exhaustion, pretending she didn't still ache for a version of love she once lost. That night, she was only at the event because her company insisted her presence mattered. She didn't realize life was about to remind her that some memories never die. They only wait for the right moment to return. The hall shimmered with Christmas lights, the giant tree glowing with red and gold ornaments, and guests chatting softly as they prepared for the charity celebration to begin. Evelyn tried to blend into the crowd, hoping no one would ask too many questions about her life or her missing husband. She never liked explaining that she'd been left alone during pregnancy, that she had built everything with her bare hands. She stood near the back, hands folded, rehearsing polite smiles. But then the room shifted. A murmur went through the crowd. Someone whispered something about the janitor being allowed to play a short piece on the piano before dinner. Most laughed politely, expecting it to be charming at best, awkward at worst. Evelyn didn't look at first. She was too lost in her own thoughts, thinking about the groceries she still needed to buy and the tuition notice she couldn't afford to open. But then she heard the first notes. 4 soft keys, spaced exactly the way she remembered, like a secret knock between souls who once belonged to each other. Her breath hitched. She turned slowly, disbelief tightening every muscle in her body. The young man at the piano wore a Navy janitor's uniform, head bowed, fingers moving gently over the keys. He looked too calm, too focused, too familiar. Evelyn pressed a hand to her mouth, trying to steady her heartbeat as the melody unfolded, sweet, hesitant, and heartbreakingly pure. The same melody her first love, Adrian, wrote for her when they were 17. A melody he said was the sound of the life they would build someday. A melody she thought she would never hear again. People around her clapped softly, smiling at the unexpected beauty of the performance, but Evelyn was frozen. Memories flooded back, the warmth of Adrian's hands, his quiet laugh, the way he scribbled musical notes on napkins, promising she would be the reason he'd become something more. They had dreams once, big enough to light up the whole world. But then life, cruel and unpredictable, tore them apart. A family emergency forced Adrian to move across the country overnight. They tried to stay in touch, tried to fight the distance, but fate didn't spare young love. One miscommunication after another, one missed call, one letter that never arrived. Then silence. Evelyn never knew why he disappeared completely. She only knew it broke something inside her. Still staring at the janitor, she found herself wiping away tears without meaning to. She tried convincing herself this couldn't be him. Perhaps someone else learned the melody. Perhaps this was coincidence. But every rise, every fall, every pause of the piano matched Adrian's exact style. The deeper the music went, the more her heart began to tremble with recognition. The janitor leaned closer to the keys, pouring emotion into each note, and suddenly she didn't see a uniform anymore. She saw the boy she once loved, hidden behind the man he had become. When the final note faded into silence, the room erupted with applause, but Evelyn stood as if the earth beneath her had vanished. The janitor lifted his head, blinking as if waking from a memory himself. His gaze swept across the crowd, and then he saw her. For a brief second, confusion flashed in his eyes, then recognition, then something deeper, a mixture of shock, longing, and sorrow, the same emotions she was drowning in. And in that fragile moment, with dozens of people cheering around them, two hearts that once loved fiercely collided again. What most people didn't know was that Adrian's life had fallen apart shortly after he left. His father's illness, financial struggle, and responsibilities crushed his dreams. He abandoned music, abandoned everything he once wanted, and took whatever work he could find to keep his family afloat. He often thought of Evelyn but believed she'd moved on. He kept the melody he wrote for her locked away like a painful treasure, never expecting it to matter again. That night was the first time he had touched a piano in years. Encouraged by coworkers who noticed how he paused longingly near the instrument every evening after cleaning, Evelyn took a shaky step forward, still unsure if approaching him would heal her heart or reopen it entirely. Adrian set his hands on his lap, breathing hard, the shock of seeing her hitting as deeply as the song had hit her. The crowd slowly returned to mingling, unaware they were standing in the middle of a miracle. As Evelyn moved closer, she felt every wound she had ever carried begin to loosen, as if life itself wanted her to let go of the years she spent surviving instead of living. Adrian's eyes softened when she finally reached him. The pain, regret, and unspoken memories between them pressed heavily in the air. They didn't need